This is the first of a series of videos looking at my central PhD interest, that of trauma narratives. Centrally, I'm going to argue in this series that an understanding of trauma can inform the writing of not just trauma narratives, but of internal arcs generally. Writing characters for any medium or genre can be informed by what Jonathan Shay calls the undoing of character. As a platform from which to launch into further depth on trauma and character, I will introduce some fundamental conceptual building blocks that will be necessary for later videos. These will include my ongoing dissection of two divergent descriptions of moral injury, while in turn relating these to a character's internal arc, wound, ghost, shadow, and persona. So, within the entire Walking Dead universe, I will look at Daniel Salazar's character and past as possibly the darkest shadow of any of the ensemble from either the main or spin-off series. As with all the characters noted here, Daniel Salazar potentially has two distinctive identities to refer to, and in post-apocalyptic fiction there is always, of course, the life before and after the inciting incident. My initial spark of enthusiasm for recording the video itself was my enjoyment of and response to episode 4 of Fear the Walking Dead season 3. From a narrative perspective, it's interesting that this has received so much praise when, on the surface, it's functioning in some ways like the much criticised filler episodes of The Walking Dead season 7. Without knowing in advance the importance of the Gonzales Dam community to our Otto Ranch Compound Main A plot, you could assume this capsule episode also detracts from our investment in the fate of the Clark family, in the same way that narrative black holes have sucked the narrative energy out of Walking Dead season 7, right? Well, no, there are key differences I'll discuss down the line, but what interests me in the comparison of the two shows is that Daniel's arc, in its use of mirroring and inversion, shares some important properties with Rick's arc and Shay's undoing of character. In future videos, I aim to demonstrate that such physical mirroring, as in Rick's season 7 bookended kneeling before Negan, and Daniel's midpoint and final scene kneeling resurrections, are key to the mechanics of the successful internal arc in trauma narratives. I will argue that the crucial ingredient comes into play when the setup of physical mirroring occurs with the prospect of a character inversion payoff. When our protagonist reenacts what haunted him in the first place but works through the fear and comes out strengthened, then we have our trauma completion. The other huge narrative difference between the two protagonists here is that Rick's arc in season 7 is frustratingly punctuated by digressions and diversions throughout, whereas Daniel's completion is very, very neat and satisfying. If The Walking Dead season 7 writers had put all their energies into building narrative tension, servicing the clarity of Rick kneeling and broken in episode 1 and Rick kneeling but with almost maniacal conviction in the finale, then fan response would have been starkly different. Alternatively, Daniel's visibly physically low position at the beginning and end of the episode titled 100 is serviced fully by the writer's exploration of his character throughout. This underlines some straightforward realities of character. Although it is absorbing to create and analyse nuance in performance and character, clarity of comparison is important for the character's arc and therefore viewer enjoyment. A huge majority of the beats in season 7 distracted from and detracted from the progress of Rick's internal character transition. Alternatively, almost every single action and line of 100 was built around Daniel's internal arc. There is an abundance of meaning in this self-contained capsule episode that can be interpreted by the viewer, allowing active engagement that lingers long after the final scene very succinctly cuts to black, a precision I enjoyed as I turned to my wife and almost sighed breathlessly. Now that's an arc.